Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
And ready doesn't mean that it's going to be any good, but, we're ready. Welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's December 31st, 2024, and this is episode 98.
Yes. We're getting closer to the party. I'll tell you what, he was just almost dancing this morning when he, I know, I saw you. He was just all skipping into the office. He couldn't wait. He's got two more to go, and then it's party time.
I saw the list of all the stuff they ordered for the party already, but I'm like, how many people are they inviting? Jeez, all the salespeople that we don't see but once a year whenever we give away free drinks and food.
Yeah, the sales folks always show up when you have these kind of shindigs, but Steve will be here before they get here because they don't usually come in real early.
No. Well, because they're always hungover, I think is what a lot of it is. But hey, it's New Year's Eve, and so last week we took Christmas off, and we did show you play you the Christmas Carol audio drama that Richard was a part of. I hope you enjoyed that. Did you have a good Christmas? Everything go well?
It was nice. We kind of got our own stuff. This is how the wife gave me my. I have always wanted. This is one of those stupid things where can afford it now, and I just was looking at it. Popped up on my feed from. It's out of Maine. What the hell? LL Bean.
Oh yeah.
And I was looking at it, I went, oh man, I'd like to have a pair of slippers that had real, honest to God sheep shearing on the inside instead of the genuine artificial stuff that makes your feet sweat like crazy.
Yeah.
And then they're cold because they're wet and it just doesn't work. So when I was looking through and I go, oh, these are so nice. And she goes, well, if you want, just get them. Really? Oh, okay. So I got them for myself, only I got the fancy ones.
Oh no.
They're moose hide.
Oh my goodness. I don't even want to know how much you spent on those.
More than my tennis shoes, I can tell you that. And I've been buying Skechers stuff. I also got another pair of Skechers that are leather. They're leather. They're kind of brown and they're leather.
You're starting to sound like a Target employee again. Oh no, it'll be. Oh, and they're leather. That's what that would be.
Wow. Yeah, they look like a pair of brown loafers that you would wear with jeans or something that are a little more dressier, and they had those on really cheap. I don't know why, but they're slipping. So you just
okay.
That's the modern day form of Velcro shoes.
Oh,
you don't have to tie them. You just
you don't have to be 2 years old or 82 years old in order to get these now. Yeah,
you don't have to bend over and tie the damn thing.
Mike Lindell had his slipper loafer type looking things that he had on sale a couple months ago for like $25 a pair. I was actually kind of tempted at that, but they're supposedly very comfortable, and you can wear them you certainly could wear them to Walmart because shoes would be an upgrade at Walmart. But I mean, you could wear them to the grocery store or whatever you want to do. So I think it'd be, I missed it. So maybe they'll run it again next year, and I'll have something. But I've already got a pair of slippers. I hardly wear it as it is now, or house shoes, or whatever you want to call them.
I only wear them like this time of year. But one thing that made me get them is a gentleman's review was, after 22 years, it's time for some new ones. I went, so you paid a lot, but it's like for me, they'll probably be the last slipper I ever.
I get my dying breath. Minnetonka, I think it's from a place in Minnesota. They sell these moccasin type things that my son buys once in a while, and they don't last worth a flip. I mean, he ends up paying $60-something for these things, which, according to his checkbook, he makes a lot more money than he does seemingly sometimes, because he buys fancier stuff than I feel like I could afford. But yeah, I mean, they're really nice right at the beginning, and maybe because he wears them all over the place, they wore out pretty quick. But they're genuine leather. They're really nice. It makes you look like you're an actual Indian rather than what's her face in Massachusetts says she is.
Yes, Pocahontas.
Yeah, Pocahontas. But I can't think of her name. But yeah,
I can't either. That's the only thing I know.
How did I lose that name? Anyway, anyway,
I'll bet folks know who we're talking about. So.
She's a senator in Minnesota. Just Google it, for goodness sake. Don't depend on us so
no,
much.
she's Massachusetts, isn't it?
Massachusetts. What'd I say?
Minnesota.
Oh, gosh.
You moved her a little.
It begins with an M. It's the same thing. It's all up north. The Great White North, eh?
For sure there. That's what we're looking at, eh?
Oh, my gosh. Well, in 2024, we have seen a big shift in the Republican Party. It seems to have brought over critical thinking and common sense Democrats to the party, from politicians to celebrities, some kind of surprising, but just common everyday people that have basically said enough is enough of the madness of the woke. And it's kind of good to see. There was a Breitbart reporter, Alana Mastrangelo. She asked former Trump aide Roger Stone about this, and he had some interesting comments. We'll actually break some of that down when he's done here.
Talk to me about the political realignment of 2024. We saw a lot of crazy things happen, crazy in a good way.
This is a historic watershed election. This is like the realignment of 1932 or the realignment of 1968, in which those who favor endless foreign war, who are in favor of censorship, who think that big pharma and big food should be allowed to do whatever they want as long as they're profitable, those people gravitated to Kamala Harris. I'm talking about Republicans like Dick Cheney, a war criminal, a man who lied us into war by saying that Iraq had nuclear weapons that he knew they did not have. His daughter, who suborns perjury and yes, should be prosecuted for her illegal actions in the January 6th committee. The McCains, all of the warmongers gravitated to Kamala Harris, where common sense Democrats, independents, libertarians, free thinkers, people who admire Robert Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard, Governor Rod Blagojevich, they gravitate to the new working class party, the America First Party of Donald Trump. This is a historic realignment, and I think it is going to dominate our politics for decades.
Yeah, and in a way maybe change, not just realign, but do you sense the GOP has changed its identity in a way? The old guard is gone.
The Republican Party is completely remade. We were once the party of war, big business, Wall Street, the financial elite, the country club. That party's over. That party's done. We are now the party of the working class. We're the party of middle America. We're the party of low taxes. We're a party of border security. We're the party of law and order. We're the party of low taxes. We're the party of less regulation. We're the party of economic growth. We're the party of peace, prosperity, security, and justice.
And I think a lot of that, we were, as a Republican, you and I have been Republicans for multiple decades now, since Reagan.
Since forever.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't think that a lot of those things that he listed off is new for the Republican Party, as far as being lower taxes. And I think as far as the platform goes, we've always been for that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of that is, I just wanted, at the end of what he was saying, it almost sounded like truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah.
It's like, why did that sound familiar?
It does somehow. It's a TV show or something. Yeah.
Some of it going over Democrat. Yeah, they've always tried to say, "Oh, we're for the little guy," and then the little guy's finding out they haven't done anything for us. I saw a gentleman that was He said, I used to be a Democrat all the time in the black community and was saying, oh, they were going to do all this for us. And he said, I started looking, they haven't done anything for us in 30 years, in 3 decades. There's been nothing.
Yeah.
They say they're going to, they get in office and then it's like, where'd they go?
No, you're right.
We don't ever hear from them again.
I saw an interview. It was actually Officer Tatum. I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with him, but he's spoken at a couple of turning point events that Charlie Kirk runs on college campuses, and they'll come out. Some of the black young students will come up there and ask him pointed questions about, why in the world are you a conservative? Because, I was raised to not be a conservative, and because they're against black people and the whole thing. And man, he'll lay them out, all these different things that Trump did during his first presidency, shoring up the HBCU college campuses. He did a lot for the black community. The black community was at the lowest unemployment rate in 40 years, 50 years. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that he did. And of course, the lefties want to paint Trump as a racist. But he kind of straightens them out with facts. And I think that's what has brought some people over is that, we're not based on emotion. We're not based on talking points that have no basis. We're based on facts. And if we can't, we want this open debate because we can bring some of the things that are actually true to the table and get it talked about.
Yeah, and some of them were just, it's just fact. You're just making, and they have since especially with this election, have come to find out all of what the other side, if you will, was saying was just made up BS. It was total, absolute, flat out lies, as we're seeing happen right now in the MSNBC is just about defunct before they can even get themselves sold. And apparently Elon is looking at purchasing. How much is it? Only a few million? That's pocket change.
Yeah. What has he got? $500 billion or some kind of.
Yeah. So, what's 250 million or whatever? That's one of the numbers I've heard, something around that number. So it's like, oh, that's easy.
He's got that in his couch cushions.
Yeah. Kind of just checked his couch cushion for loose change.
Exactly.
But the Americans have found out that they have been just like The View. They're talking about they can't leave The View on much longer either because they're starting to get sued left and right. They can't afford the show anymore. Nope. Oh, this breaks my little heart.
Was it CBS that George Stephanopoulos that had?
Yes.
Yeah, and they got sued for effectively $16 million.
He's on ABC, I think.
Was it NBC? I can't remember what channel he's on.
Yeah, that's he didn't want to say I'm sorry for stuff. It's like, no, well, you're either that or you're going to pay $60 million because we ain't doing it.
Have you heard the clip yet of him apologizing?
I haven't either. He's not wanting to do that real bad.
He either hasn't done it or he's just putting it off.
I'm pretty sorry.
Yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
Oh, it's gonna be fun to watch him eat crow when that happens. But
they're you're not going to get away with that, and I think they'll probably put back in the where the government can no longer do propaganda that Obama took out. So
yeah.
That law needs to come back. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but at any rate,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's causing issues.
Well, and we'll have to wait and see. I think that Elon has actually made some good strides by buying out Twitter and saying, I don't care what the FBI or the CIA has to say. It seems like, that was something else that I was going to talk about, but I didn't have it jotted down. But I think it was Argentina is banning TikTok for that's what it was. TikTok has actually put out these challenge videos for kids to mix certain chemicals and sniff the remnants of those chemicals mixtures. I mean, some kids have died.
That's not a good idea.
No.
Having dealt with chemicals for cleaning food processing plants. That's not a good idea. That's some of that stuff is one good sniff, and that's all it takes.
They're going to have to do something with this TikTok thing because, ByteDance is going to have to let America buy our portion of it and just be done with it. But
yeah,
I just don't know what else to say.
Yeah, as long as it's still owned by the Chinese and the crap, I have no desire. I don't have an account, and I'm not interested in signing up.
Actually, I did have an account, but I don't think it's active. I've never used it. I just did it because my son goes, you should do that for your voiceover. I was like, I don't, I'm not a big selfie person. So, I mean, talking into a camera and going, this is a goofy voices I can do. It's just not my thing. But anyway, let me get to one more story before we go to break. And you talked about MSNBC here a second ago. They interviewed Financial Times columnist in London anyway, Julian Tett, about how business leaders around the world are preparing for a second President Trump term, and they didn't get the answer they were hoping for.
Not just American CEOs, but the world is bracing for, is prepared for, is expecting from a second term.
Well, here's what we do know. We do know that Donald Trump's election has unleashed astonishing animal spirits. And by animal spirits, I'm referring to the economist John Maynard Keynes, who was from King's College, Cambridge, who argued that when people start to feel wildly optimistic and confident, that basically causes them to spend more, invest more, hire more, and you get this self-fulfilling cycle of growth. And right now, everyone can sense that there's an extraordinary explosion of animal spirits in America in relation to the economy, and particularly relative to all the other major trading partners like Europe or Asia right now. So the CEOs are acting like rational business people, saying, we want to be part of that. We want to be part of this growth story.
There is an optimism that's out there, and I like it.
And it is all over the world. It's, hey, we're going to, and since Trump's brave enough to bring that out, we're getting on this bandwagon as well, because all of this lefty stuff it's not working. It's causing discernible problems in all the countries it's in. And they're going, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. And you would think that the UK was a communist country, the way they're going out and arresting somebody for making a comment on Facebook. Really?
Yeah.
That's what you want to go with. Okay. Yeah, that's not going over well.
No. And they just elected that Labor Party guy, and he's not very popular. I mean, it wasn't long after he took office. And of course,
Nigel. Was that the name? His name is Nigel, I think it is.
It could be. But they've gone through a lot of different leaders in the last few years that have been total blow-ups, and even the conservative ones that was kind of like, it's just not.
The one lady lasted 2 weeks, if that.
Yeah, she didn't. Yeah, it didn't take long. She quit. No. They didn't run her out. She just I can't take this.
Everybody's so mean to me.
Speaking of Britain, we may have a guest next week, a friend of mine from Great Britain, and we'll get a segment or two out of him and get some insight on the stuff that's happening over there. But in Europe, they're starting to wake up from this whole wokeism over there, and of course we're a little bit behind the curve, and we're starting to wake up now. But a lot of countries in Europe are going, yeah, this is not going to work. This is not.
Yeah, not for that.
Yeah. So we have a break coming up, and so when we come back, we're going to talk about how the Democratic Party, through their intimidation tactics, have tried to steamroll social media and mainstream media, and of course, this is stuff we all know. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
This is the Stay Off My Lawn show and podcast. The grumpy old men you know and love. We'll be right back.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
right, welcome back to do what?
I'm hovering. I
hover.
forget to hit the timer, and then I have to hear. Yeah, I know. I forgot again. I was really close. I was only 3 minutes off.
He's grumpy today. Give him a Slim Jim and a beer. I mean, that's normally what he comes in with.
Yeah. Well, I think he's just overly excited about his ventures for this evening.
No, yeah, that's true. That's true. I think he's starting a little bit early. He smelled.
Well, he's trying to save up for it, and that's probably what's killing him, making him crabby.
He's already smelling kind of hoppy. I mean, I just don't know.
Shoot.
We do talk quite a bit on the Democrats and how they've kind of like forced social media and the mainstream media to read their copy and pasted messages to the American people and to squelch the voices that are against that. But the Democratic establishment seems like it's losing its grip, at least in the last year or so.
Losing? How about lost?
Maybe
grip?
lost. Maybe that is a better word. Even with people within their own establishment. Lindy Lee, we were just talking about her during the break. She's the Democratic National Finance Committee member. She used to be a little bit higher up. She was part of Joe Biden's 2020 political campaign. But she had some things to say that might be surprising to you. Here's that.
You personally know President Biden. What is your reaction to this report?
It's just further confirmation for what we've known for years. And I tried to sound the alarm in July and I was attacked then. People don't want to hear the truth. And it's extremely devastating. It's devastating in so many regards because President Biden as a human being is no longer capable of executing the duties of the commander-in-chief. I don't want to get crucified again, but there are certain people around him, his senior advisors, who are essentially running the country.
Where was the backlash? Where was it coming from?
The liberal leftists who are attacking me now. The same people, the same group of people I've lost tens of thousands of followers this week. I've been called a number of names I won't repeat here, simply for stating the truth and asking questions about how the finances of the Harris campaign were handled. Honestly, I can't believe I'm sharing this, but the day before my Fox News Sunday interview, somebody from the White House called me. So the White House found out that I was speaking to Shannon Bream, and they called me the night before and said, "You're one of the president's most loyal supporters. We know you're going to stay loyal." And as someone who's watched The Sopranos and is a huge Godfather fan, I mean, it just sounds like something, it just sounded like mob speak almost, like, it's a nice position you have there. It'd be a shame if you lost it, kind of. It was the friendliest threat possible.
Yeah, you wake up with a horse head in the bed next to you.
Yeah, we know you're gonna be loyal still, right? Or you'll be loyal permanently.
But I like the one when she said that all I did was ask questions. All I did was kind of like tell the truth.
Yeah. Don't ask questions. Just go along with the narrative. And just like the thing we saw for the clot shot.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking the same thing.
Everybody, here's the script. Don't vary from it. You've got to push this out there like you believe it, just like the other 35 people.
Right.
Stations that are doing it.
But the thing is like people got deplatformed and COVID is just a prime example. And we're going to keep bringing this up for probably decades. But if you questioned it, if you just, like I said, just wanted to know the truth, why in the world would they get 75 years of immunity for something that was safe and effective anyway? I mean, that's about to go bye-bye too. Yeah, I think so. But I mean, why in the world? Asking questions is how we learn stuff. It's how we expose things that may be hinky. There's just too many things that are just not quite right. And there's others that are talking just like they were talking. You're going to use the horse dewormer, the horse paste. Yeah. I will let you know that ivermectin was used for 12 years before the veterinary community went, can we use it on horses and cows as well? Because it cures a lot of stuff. It gets in there, gets rid of parasites, blah, blah, all kinds of other things that are there. So humans were using it for all kinds of issues. Oh, in Africa, they used the dengue fever and different things.
Right, dengue fever, all that kind of stuff. It had been being used with no side effects, no issues, nothing was ever, they can't determine any problems. And it actually cured the the flu bug that was going around for 3 years.
The vid bug.
I'm not, yeah. So, yeah, it was all just made up lies that, you're going to use the heart. No, they have a version, don't eat the paste because it's made for a horse. So, yeah, don't do that.
And that's the thing. You don't go to a feed store and buy it. You go.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. There's a little bit of common sense.
And folks who had horses and cows that needed to use it for their animals going, will you please stop buying it? It's so expensive. Now we can't even use it on our horses.
Yeah, it's just incredible. But yeah, ask the questions and you're going to get, she got crucified. And she's a Democrat's Democrat. I mean, she's.
Which goes to another article I read yesterday was the Democrats are eating their own.
Mm-hmm.
Was what the title was. So I went, man, that's there's a perfect example of it right there. Someone who was way high in the, they're just running them out. And the more lies that are found out, the fewer Democrats there are to vote for.
Well, they even said that during the phone call, during the veiled threat phone call, saying, we know you're loyal. Come on now. You got to stay being loyal. And so loyalty above truth and asking questions.
That's exactly what it is. So you want to stay loyal, don't you? Huh?
But that's the thing about Republicans that ought to gather the attention of people is like, we're not afraid to call out. There's a lot of things. I could list you a bunch of stuff that I don't agree with Trump on. And this recently you got the visa thing with Vivek and Elon, they're for this, and I can't remember the type of visa it is, but it's bringing in people from other countries to do like engineering work or whatever at a cheaper rate from other countries rather than hire Americans to do this. It allows people from foreign countries to come in and work in those capacities. I don't agree with that, but I mean, I feel free enough to say that. And if I met Elon, if I met Vivek, it wouldn't bother me to say, yeah, I think that's stupid, and we could have a discussion. But I think that's the difference with Democrats. If somebody said, this thing that you're for, I'm against, man, all of a sudden you're going to get run out of town on a rail, and it's just over for you.
Yeah, it's there. I looked into that some because it's like, what is all this about? And it's not all engineers. I can understand you needing some engineers in that. The vast majority are working in hotels. Yeah. They're working in restaurants, not even making $40,000 a year, $35,000 a year is the vast majority of who these visas go to.
Well, I think the max you can make on that visa is $60,000, I think. So, I mean, they're not.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It seems like I read that.
What it is, but it's like, okay, something's not right here.
It doesn't seem right. And like I said, a lot of Republicans are calling out Vivek and Elon on this. And Trump had mentioned it, and I don't remember what he said, but he had, if he's for it, then I'm still against it. I don't care who is for it.
I like some of the other things they're doing. Not such a fan of this.
Right. Exactly.
So. We'll see.
Well, anyway, speaking of the American media, it's brought into the various talking points of the
butter.
Do what?
Smooth as butter.
Smooth as the bottom of my feet in the wintertime. It's very nice. The American media is brought into the various talking points of the Democrats without actually engaging their own brain, because obviously you're not supposed to question anything.
Yeah, don't put it in gear. Just let it free will, and we'll tell you what you need to know.
Exactly. No, it's veiled threats. Here's New York Times reporter Lulu Garcia Navarro talking to JD Vance about a subject that she has obviously only glanced over and not really given much thought to. And JD kind of gives her something to talk about or to think about.
The reason that there is a housing crisis is that not enough houses have been built.
And that we have 25 million people who shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
I think it's both.
I know you do. I don't think that many people who look into this agree with you, but about a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large proportion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Well, I think it's a fair question because we know that back in the 1960s when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses. But of course they did. and I'm being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu, the assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes. I think, again,
the country is much bigger.
Fundamental.
The need is much bigger. I mean, I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration. I'm asking how you would deal with the knock-on effect of your proposal to remove millions of people who work in a critical part of the economy.
Well, I think that what you would do is you would take, let's say, for example, the 7 million prime age men who have dropped out of the labor force, and you have a smaller number of women, but still millions of women prime age who have dropped out of the labor force. You absolutely could re-engage folks into the American labor market. This is, I think,
to work in construction.
Of course, you could.
I mean, the unemployment rate is 4.1%. Most people
unemployment rate, Lulu, this is important.
But most people who don't work can't work in the regular economy. They're in the military. They're parents. They're sick. They're old. They might not want to work in construction.
The unemployment rate does not count labor force participation dropouts. And again, this is one of the really deranged things that I think illegal immigration does to our society, is it gets us in a mindset of saying we can only build houses with illegal immigrants when we have 7 million, just men, not even women, just men who have completely dropped out of the labor force. People say, well, Americans won't do those jobs. Americans won't do those jobs for below the table wages. They won't do those jobs for non-living wages. But people will do those jobs. They will just do those jobs at certain wages. And think about this from the perspective of an American company, okay? I want them to go searching in their own country for their own citizens. Sometimes people who may be struggling with addiction or trauma, get them re-engaged in American society. We cannot have an entire American business community that is giving up on American workers and then importing millions of illegal laborers. That is what we have thanks to Kamala Harris's border policies. I think it's one of the biggest drivers of inequality. It's one of the biggest reasons why we have millions of people who have dropped out of the labor force. Why try to re-engage an American citizen in a good job if you can just import somebody from Central America who's going to work under the table for poverty wages? It is a disgrace, and it has led to the evisceration of the American middle class.
And that's where I heard about the labor force participation rate probably 20 years ago. And it's such a better snapshot of what the unemployment situation is in the country, because once you stop receiving unemployment benefits, you're in the vapor. You're done. I mean, you're not counted at all anymore.
Correct. Well, and a lot of what's happening with he's saying women dropping out of the labor market is because this quote unquote, oh, I'm going to be making more money at $15 an hour or whatever. They can't afford to put their kids in daycare anymore because that's how things were being done. And they and I've talked to several people that in my area that went, you know, thank God we own a home and our housing prices are not stupid like people just moving in trying to get one. And they said, if I stopped working because it was only going to be $200 a month difference in our budget because everything I was making was going to, well, then why the hell aren't you raising your own kids? Which a lot of them started doing.
Sure. And
men not in the labor market. I saw an interview, a gal was complaining, well, all this is going on. Neither my husband or I work. We'd have to get a job. It's like, wait a minute. What the hell? What are you freeloading on? I don't understand what thing. I think they were in California or something, but yeah, they were going to have to get a job. So they're not in the labor market. And this stuff is just crazy. And every time he was not doing what she was trying to guide him toward, she'd try to change the subject. Didn't work. It didn't work. But she tried, heavy on the word tried, to change the subject. And he was going, no, this is all fallacy. It's the old Democrat. Oh, well, you know, houses won't get built unless you've got cheap under the table labor that you just pay cash for them to show up. You go to the Home Depot and, all right, boys, pile in the van. Here we go. You know, take you out and then build a home with guys that are standing out there willing to get up early and go to work. Right. Well, I think some of that has led to a lot of lazy people in the country. They've not had to. I've been there where, man, at one point in time, thankfully it was just the wife and I then, but we had $13 to our name. That's it. Oh. And I got a job. I was trying to do everything under the sun. You get out and you figure it out, make it happen.
As we were young men, can you imagine saying to your wife, I guess I got to get a job now? Can you imagine?
No, I can't. Good God, I grew up on a dairy farm. I've been working driving a tractor and stuff since I was 6, for crying out loud. And I got paid to work out in the field. Grandpa always paid us. We always had money as a kid, more than other kids growing up. I didn't wait till I was 16 years old, for crying out loud, to go, what? I have to work now? What? Well, how does that work? 16, you're way past. They need to start way sooner than that.
You know, my son bought me this book called Dad, I Want to Hear Your Story. He bought one for my wife too, just for the granddaughters when they get older and everything. And so anyway, it kind of reminded me of a lot of things. It's like, what was your first job? I go, holy crap. I guess I was, the first real job I had was cutting grass for the snowbirds when they went back up north during the summertime. I'd cut their grass once a week, and they paid me, a certain amount for the summer. And that's what I did. I had a few grasses that I cut that kept money in my pocket. That kept me going to the $3 movie theater on a Friday night, maybe once in a while, meeting my friends. And, but it reminded me of all the different things I've done, which I think is a good thing. You should do a lot of different things. I was a busboy. I worked at a AAA. I did a lot of things before I joined the military, before even 19 years old. So, I mean, but a lot of kids nowadays, they just don't have that. And, work has just always been part of your DNA. I mean, that was just part of growing up. It was just work. Everybody.
Yeah, well, and they don't have any work ethic. And then you've got these kids that are trying to work in a restaurant, and they don't understand what customer service is. And a lot of restaurants are going belly up because people went, wait, I'm paying a premium price to be have a snot-nosed little snoot kid that, yeah, I'll get it for you. What the hell is that? That's poor management for one.
Then they'll turn the iPad towards you. And it's like, tip. I'm always like, no tip. But anyway, we are up against a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Senator Rand Paul about government waste. Who'd have thunk? So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the stay off my lawn peed, but the thing. Anyway. They'll be right back.
Hey, how have those long trips out to the dump been lately?
What, you want to talk trash again?
Well, when you're driving that far just to get the garbage off your property, I'm curious how long it'll take for you to hit your wits end.
It's not a problem. I found a place that offers trash pickup on my street.
Putnam County Sanitation is the best rural trash pickup service for small businesses and homes in the Putnam County area. PutnamCountySanitation.com for more information. Putnam County Sanitation, let us dump your troubles.
I'll get my numbers right here eventually. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3. By the way, if you want to get a hold of us, we are at soml@duck.com. And until Google takes away our phone number, it is 770-727-6443, or just go to stayoffmylawn.us, and all those links are there, and enjoy clicking around. And our ugly mugs are on there too, so that you can if you need something for like target practice, you can print that out.
You can see why we have faces for radio.
That's exactly right. The Senate seems to have teed up some things for Elon and Vivek's Doge department, the Department of Government Efficiency. Recently, they found over $1 trillion of waste already. Which doesn't surprise me. I don't think anybody who has a working mind that is surprised by that. Here's Senator Rand Paul being interviewed just a few days ago about that very subject.
$1 trillion in government waste. Making the list this year, of course, you got to have your Sesame Street show in Rack, a multi-million-dollar pickleball complex in Las Vegas, a drag cabaret show on ice, and, of course, border security for ... Paraguay.
$1 trillion. That means we found a lot of waste, but it's everywhere. It's in all the big departments, in the Department of State. It's in NIH. It's in the National Science Foundation. And people wonder, why does it exist every year? We have this Department of Doge. Are they going to be able to get rid of it? Only way to get rid of it is to spend less money. NIH will have more waste if you give them more money. $3 million studying what kids do when they look at ads for food on Facebook. So they had a whole bunch of kids look at ads for food on Facebook, and that was $3 million worth. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to drill holes into cats' heads, spin them around rapidly, and study motion sickness. Sounds more like animal cruelty than it actually sounds like an experiment. But the list goes on and on. But the reason it's not eliminated is they don't have the votes to get rid of the spending. Now, the National Science Foundation is the one that's famous for doing a study on whether tequila or gin makes people more aggressive. So they fed fish, half of them tequila, and the other half of the fish gin, and they decided which made the fish more aggressive. That's the National Science Foundation.
$1 trillion in government.
Oh, well, it gets started all over again. But, you know, I looked it up, and the pickleball complex in Vegas, I think it was $12 million. And this is...
Holy crap.
This is our tax money at work. And the Sesame Street thing in Iraq, $20 million. Yeah. I mean, what in the world? I mean, I just don't understand. These are the kind of things that we need to get out of our budget. And that was just what they found preliminarily. They didn't really even dig that deep.
Well, they're not even part of the government at all right now either. They're just looking at stuff. And Rand Paul says, "I'm happy to work with the fellas," was kind of his terminology of sorts.
Yeah.
But he is all in with working on Doge with Elon and Vivek, and they're not even in. I was talking off the air with you that I have heard from, it's 3 or 4 of these young Democrat, let's call them maroons that they are, going, well, he's been president now for a month, almost 2 months now, and he hasn't hardly done anything. Okay, that's because he's not president, and he's done a lot of things, by the way, not even keeping his promises. He's not even president yet. It just appears that way to these maroons because
what a maroon.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that.
And what that?
Yeah, that thing. Because he's doing more presidential things as an elected the president pro tem or whatever it is that I forget the terminology for it. Yeah.
There's a word
Both
for
of us kind of went blank on that earlier, and it hasn't, the file drawer still hasn't opened. Anyway.
I wrote it in invisible
so
ink and it's gone.
To hear that coming, it's like, really? And then they just get blasted in the comments.
Yeah. I don't think they read the comments because they keep coming out with new stuff.
I know. It's like, do you really not care? Because it's like, no, he's not even president yet. So I think they're doing a great job. They found $1 trillion in waste, and they're not even part of the government yet.
I know. That's what I mean. Trump has done, and part of his administration has done more presidential things in the last month since the election than or a month and a half since the election than Biden has done in 4 years. So, I mean.
Yeah, to try and help the country and not tear it apart.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, I really am offended by the whole drilling holes in cats' heads because I'm a cat person. I just don't understand. That's the University of Pittsburgh, I think it was, that was doing that. It's insane. Anyway, you know, a lot of times when people speak out on the stupid things that blue states do, especially California, they get told that it's made up. You know, it's misinformation, disinformation, whatever. But this is from back in September of 2024. But it's Senator John Kennedy talking to senior policy analyst for the Independent Women's Forum, Kelsey Bolar, and what's really going on in California prisons. You're going to be shocked at this.
Ms. Bowler, let me ask you a couple questions. I want to be sure I understand your testimony. The state of California has a law that says if you're convicted of a crime, you can declare your gender and you can go to a women's prison if you are biologically a male, but declare yourself transgender. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Does the state of California require any confirmation of one's gender identity?
There is some type of review process, but it is based on the individual's self-declared gender identity. These individuals don't have to be identifying as transgender or non-binary prior to being convicted and entering prison. It is based on their self-declared gender identity. Under the Biden-Harris administration, they ordered federal prisons to recognize trans-identified inmates' health and safety when making housing decisions, and even declared for the first time that gender-affirming surgery may be medically appropriate, which means taxpayers would be funding it. And I will note that many female inmates we have talked to tell us once they gain access to women's prisons behind closed doors, they are no longer identifying as transgender. They are embracing their natural male identity.
Could you give me those numbers once more? I apologize.
2,186 trans-identified inmates currently exist, according to the latest numbers reported by California. And I'd also note in 2022, 1/3 of trans-identifying inmates seeking access to the female prisons were registered sex offenders.
I wonder how many female prisoners are identifying as males and want to go to a male prison. Does that?
Let's see. Carry the 1 divided by 2 minus the. Yep, none.
Goose egg. Yes, I think that's the correct answer. Oh my gosh! This is the thing. California. It's California.
Oh, I love Senator Kennedy.
I do too.
And you know what he reminds me of? All of a sudden, it just hit me. He reminds me of Columbo. All he needs is the wrinkled raincoat going. Oh,
Yeah.
just one more. I just have another question for you. And it's so innocent in the way that I just want to clarify to make sure. And I mean, doesn't he? Am I wrong?
He does. No, you're right. I never put that together, but you're exactly
I didn't
right.
either. All of a sudden, I'm sitting here listening and going, I know what it is that I like about him. It's like very unassuming and, I've done. Oh, no, I got just one more.
Smart as he could be. And it's like, and he's one of those people that, like you said, unassuming. You think you might be able to run over him intellectually. He's just this hick from Louisiana, but man, it's like, there's a handful of people in Congress that and none of them have D's next to their name, surprisingly. But that I would never engage with. JD Vance being one of them. Was it Josh Hawley?
Yes.
James Comer. A lot of these people that it's like they are so smart. And Ted Cruz, another one.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, man, why would you want to go toe to toe with these people? They just know stuff. I mean,
they've done their homework,
Yes.
and they speak in facts and not made up stuff. They get accused of making things up. Again, more conspiracy theory stuff.
Right.
And lo and behold, no, it's not.
Well, it's like Rand Paul with him and Fauci going back and forth. Everything that Rand Paul accused him of, and Fauci called him a
100%.
liar that he doesn't know what he's talking about, turned out to be true.
Yeah, well, Rand Paul's a doctor, so and not of the educational kind.
Not of the Jill Biden kind of doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Speaking of doctors or people that are working on stuff, I love what RFK Jr. is doing.
Yeah, RFK is painted as a nut job by people in his own family and former allies. Because he questions things. Again, you don't want to do that if you're a Democrat.
Funny, all of his stuff that was, it's just nut job conspiracy. Oh, wait, that's true? Really?
Exactly. That's what I love about him. And I don't agree with him on everything either. And I wouldn't mind telling him that. I'm sure he wouldn't mind being questioned about this. But, he asked some good questions. And I think questions need to be asked about a lot of this stuff. The vaccines, the food additives especially. This is Vani Hari, a health activist, on why you need to look at the things that are in our food once he gets into office.
They're putting all kinds of chemicals that are banned and heavily regulated in other countries. American iconic companies are using ingredients that are safer and better in other countries while serving us the more toxic, poisonous version. We have the biggest cereal companies in the United States feeding our kids artificial food dyes that they don't use in countries like Australia, Canada, all of Europe, in India. Last 50 or so years, there's been about 10,000 chemicals added to the American food supply, where countries in Europe only have 400 approved for use. A bowl of cereal like this that you would never know that has artificial food dyes in it, but this one has an artificial food dye called caramel color level 4. It's made with heating ammonia. It turns into a carcinogen, cancerous compound, according to the International Agency for Research on Cancer. America's favorite, chips. This has Red 40. The FDA admitted yesterday that they have not reviewed the safety data for Red 40 in over a decade. When Red 40 was actually intended for use, it was intended at a very low microdose, like 20 milligrams. They're saying now that Americans get up to close to 200 milligrams of artificial food dyes that are made from coal tar and petroleum that are linked to hyperactivity in children.
Yeah, how in the world these things, I mean, how does it add anything to their product? I mean, I'd love to know what the original idea was to add all this stuff in.
It's people go to college for to be food chemists, I guess is what they're called, which that's what they're doing is they're working with chemicals that will hopefully addict you more to the product. I shared a little bit here just a minute ago that Kellogg's is in deep trouble because a lot of moms were protesting out in front of Kellogg's in Battle Creek, Michigan, and all the stuff that they're putting in. And it's working because in the last month, Fruit Loops, which we're all concerned with, sales have dropped somewhere around 52% in 1 month. Just the bottom fell out.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yes, it's like, no, I'm not buying that stuff no more.
Yeah.
I read more labels than I used to. I've always read kind of labels. The wife goes, here, read this. Does it have stuff in it? I can't remember all of it, but some of this stuff. And here's what they're doing also is they're changing the names of the chemicals that are going in. Was called this. Well, now it has a new name. Aspartame is not aspartame anymore. It's some other name, which I've got to find out because it really affects me.
Sure.
I can't take the aspartame because if I do, I have to talk to the wife from the opposite end of the house because it gives me halitosis so bad it makes my own eyes water.
Oh, boy.
This is how I discovered I cannot deal with the aspartame. The fake sugar stuff doesn't go well.
But it does something inside you also. I think I told you when a friend of mine some years ago that was diagnosed with dementia at 60 years old, one of the first things the doctor asked him is, do you drink diet soda? And it's the aspartame in there. It's like, so it does something to the chemical makeup of your body. You shouldn't put.
It's not good for you, period.
Yeah. You can't be putting this, especially in kids. I mean, I see kids 5 years old, 6 years old drinking diet sodas. And like, even regular soda's bad enough, but diet sodas to me are just so much worse.
I have one once upon a blue moon. I'll have a little bit of something maybe in the afternoon, but it's made up, folks, of 75% food grade phosphoric acid. It will dissolve a nail within like a week. Will be gone Coke, if you drop that in a Coke bottle. And not good for you.
I did see a side-by-side comparison, and I forgot where it was now, but of the labels on like a bag of chips or cereal or whatever between here and Europe. And the difference was like, there was like, maybe 15 ingredients or 10 ingredients on the European version. And it's the same thing. I think it was Lay's potato chips. Now I think about it. It's like you look at the difference in our label, we've got like 50 ingredients. I mean, how in the world does that make any sense to anybody?
I bought some for the function this afternoon. Yes, go Broncos. Yeah, I'm in Idaho, Boise State. The wife and I met there, so I'm going to root for the Broncos. But I think it was called Holy Guacamole. It was already pre-made. It said it had about 10 in it, and it was $10. So that's like $1 per avocado, which is about the going rate or a little less.
Yeah.
I went, it's already made. Screw it. If we need to do it, and then I read the label and went, you're kidding, right? There was nothing extra in it. It just had a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of this, some salt, and a little seasoning. I forget what it actually listed. And that's it. That's all it was in.
Well, that's good.
Serious? Really? That's it? So.
Well, I mean, there are some things out there. You do have to read the labels. I think that's a very good idea, especially anymore. And maybe with RFK going in there, maybe it'll take care of it. Who knows? But anyway, we are up against another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a secret slush fund that Congress has and that we as taxpayers pay for.
Not anymore.
So hang in there. We'll be right back.
If you're in our demographic, it might be a good time to go and pee. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Born from the tragedy of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation carries out its mission to do good by providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children, and by building specially adapted smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. They are also committed to eradicating veteran homelessness and helping America to never forget September 11th, 2001. And according to Charity Navigator, 95 cents out of every dollar donated goes directly to these programs. $11 a month is all they ask for to help these real-life American heroes. Visit T2T.org to find out more. That's T2T.org. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn. It's segment 4. So it's almost done. If you
welcome back to I remember the name of this thing. What's it called again?
I keep forgetting. It's something about the yard. I don't know. But the weeds. I think we're called the weeds. I don't know.
Barnyard. I don't know. Something.
Recently, I'd never heard this before. That there's a slush fund in Congress. And it's to pay for sexual misconduct lawsuits and payoffs. I mean,
yeah. Well, it was secret, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, not so much anymore. James Comer actually is to blame for not being a secret anymore. Here's him talking about that.
You know, Congress has paid over $17 million in hush money for sexual misconduct inside of the offices in these buildings. And what's more is that was taxpayer money, right? The allegation is that President Trump paid $130,000 of his own money. But here in Congress, there may be some on this dais. I mean, I'm for turning loose all of these records. Who in here has had the taxpayer pay for their sexual misconduct charges, the hush money? I bet there's some over there. There may be some over here. I don't know, but I do know it's taxpayer money. And I do know not a single penny of it has been turned in as a campaign finance expense. Is the FEC going to investigate the $17 million that Congress has paid to settle, behind closed doors, these sexual misconduct allegations?
Congressman, if a complaint were to come to us about it, I'm sure it would be thoroughly investigated.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Wink, wink. Here, let me say the proper thing. Wink, wink. Uh-huh.
This is the kind of thing that Doge is probably going to dig up, though. Maybe this was part of the Senate investigation that they found already. You know, I don't know, but $17 million taxpayer money for somebody to play grab butt with their I just don't get it. I don't get it.
To play bang chicka wow wow.
Yeah, whatever it is. Oh, that's a good way to put that. I like that.
Well, of course, it came from me. I mean, come on.
Why can't? What is it about elected officials? They can't keep their hands to themselves.
It's power. I have the power to do and and you can't touch me. Well, yeah, maybe not so much anymore.
Yeah,
but a $17 million slush
like a lot
fund
to me. And
that's
I
a pretty
wonder
big slush fund. Good Lord, that's like petty cash, you know.
And my brain went to, if somebody is like on their last term that they're not going to run for re-election, they might have somebody that works for them say, you know what, why don't you go ahead and accuse me of this and we'll just pay you off and nobody will ever hear about it. And that way they set up one of their favorite people or whatever and nothing actually went on, but it's a slush fund. So, I mean, nobody's going to, it seems like.
We'll split the fund. What do you think?
And you got to wonder, if somebody gets paid off $2 million, do they suck $2 million out of the general fund and shore it up again? I mean, how does that work? I mean,
I don't know. But a slush fund that I'm happy that my tax money will go to based upon what the Democrats did is there's a $50 billion lawsuit against the Department of Justice for the January 6ers.
Oh, is it really? See, I had not heard of that.
billion just came out this last week.
And I think, speaking of billion, I think I just heard yesterday that the Biden administration just approved $2.5 billion for aid for Ukraine again. So they're trying to push as much money out the door before
that stuff slid through and just up and doing. And he's finally giving up. My understanding is on the paying off student loan stuff that somebody goes, well, why don't they just you got a loan, you signed your name on the dotted line, same as everybody else that's paid theirs off. You know,
you're old enough to
my tax money is not going to pay for your college education.
That's right. You entered into that contract.
Get you anything anyway. As soon as they started guaranteeing money to go to college, the price went up exponentially because the universities are going, we're going to get our money. Don't care whether you can pay yours or not. You can't declare it in bankruptcy. Nothing. No doubt. So the universities get their money. And so they've just kept piling on and adding stuff to it. And the cost is stupid. And there's a lot of universities now starting to go out of business because people go, I can't afford that big $150,000 loan.
Not only that, Charlie Kirk has pointed out multiple times that half the people that graduate college don't work in the field that they went to college for. So, I mean, what good does it do? They end up working. I work side by side with people with engineering degrees and finance degrees and everything that they were driving a forklift with me.
I had a boss that had a law degree, and he was the owner and manager of the chemical company that we cleaned food processing plants for when I got into that. So was he using his law degree? Nope. That was ungodly expensive.
Yeah. Well, hey, file this one under, here we go again. The bird flu has raised its ugly head. And there's some layers to this. So we have a couple of clips for this, but this is Dr. Leanna Wen. She's the former health commissioner for the city of Baltimore and former president of Planned Parenthood, if that gives you any kind of detail about what kind of person she is. But she's in the fear-mongering game now. Here she is on CNN, I think she is.
There are two main things that they should be doing in the days that they have left. The first is to get testing out there. I feel like we should have learned our lesson from COVID that just because we aren't testing, it doesn't mean that the virus isn't there. It just means that we aren't looking for it. We should be having rapid tests, home tests available to all farm workers, to their families, for the clinicians taking care of them so that we aren't waiting for public labs and CDC labs to tell us what's bird flu or not. And the second very important thing is this is not like the beginning of COVID where we were dealing with a new virus, we didn't have a vaccine. There actually is a vaccine developed already against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with the manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research done on it. They could get this authorized now and also get the vaccine out and to farm workers and to vulnerable people. I think that's the right approach because we don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing.
We don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing. Maybe not focus on
nothing because it's a crock of El Crapola.
Yep. And I heard the other day some official had said that they want all farmers to test their cows and their chickens. They're going to send out
pigs too. No, they want to put the mRNA in pigs as well.
Oh, nice. Well, the fear mongering continued on. I think this is CBS.
A person in Louisiana has contracted the nation's first severe case of bird flu after the virus mutated inside their body, allowing it to more easily infect their upper respiratory system. Dr. Celine Gounder is with us to explain. Dr. Gounder, when you hear the words bird flu, severe case, should we be worried?
You should be concerned about how the U.S. is responding. However, at this point in time, the threat to the general public remains low. So this severe case of bird flu occurred in a man in Louisiana. He's over 65, has underlying medical conditions, was infected by a backyard flock of birds. The key thing here is also that there has been no human-to-human transmission, including in this case. But what is significant about this case is that the man did develop severe disease. We saw a mutation that appears to predispose to that. And the more we allow the virus to spread, to mutate, the more you increase the odds that you'll get mutations that can cause human-to-human transmission, that can cause more severe disease, and that's how you get a pandemic.
I heard an interview with somebody on the radio, I think it was day before yesterday, where they said that it's very possible this strain of bird flu is actually going to be between 25 and 50% mortality rate. So either 1 in 4 or 2 in 4 of people are going to die from this bird flu.
Gee, didn't we hear that before?
We did.
It's like they were attacked by birds. Yeah, they with Gertrude and Heathcliff. No, yes. Did you hear Homer's been sick? No. Yes, he didn't get the shot. Anyway,
he didn't get the shot, and he's dying now. But yeah, it's insane. It's just insane. But Dr. Peter McCullough, who was the voice of reason back, especially during the early days of the vid, he gives his level-headed and thoughtful insight and some surprising things that I did not know about on this strain of bird flu that is going around now.
Bird flu, or H5N1 influenza, has been around for over 100 years, well documented in the scientific literature in the United States. The most recent outbreak, which is now 4 years old, we've published, McCullough Foundation has published with first author Nick Holscher, an epidemiologist, in the journal Poultry, Fisheries, and Wildlife Sciences, peer-reviewed journal, that the current strain of bird flu is a product of gain-of-function research done in the USDA Poultry Research Laboratory in Athens, Georgia. So it is a man-made problem that our farms are experiencing right now. It's in the peer-reviewed literature, and it's really, the next steps in this outbreak is for people to understand, the ramifications of it personally and how to be prepared.
Again, we're hearing this gain of function thing. And with the vid, they tried to use the gain of function as I think that was part of the reason for that was to use it against in wartime or whatever, against people, sort of like an Agent Orange type thing. But what in the world with the bird flu? I mean, what are they trying to design there?
Well, and it's been around this particular strain's been around for 4 years, but now it's, if you get anywhere close to a bird, you're going to be, so I got to carry my shotgun everywhere and drop him before he gets to me.
Yeah, I think he said 100 years. It's been around for a long, long time. So, I mean, but they're messing with the genome, and it's like, it's right down the street here in Athens. I
was going to say, he ain't very far from you there, pal. No. You better go out with your tinfoil hat on so they won't dive bomb you.
I threw away all my masks too, man. I don't know what to do. Man, we need a palate cleanser after all that guano that got spewed. This is another, and since we're still kind of in the Christmas season, we still have another rest of the story from Paul Harvey and A Christmas Story.
And now, the rest of the story. In the recording business, the seasons come at you months in advance. So here we have this famous singer sitting in his Hollywood home in the dead of summer, plowing through stacks of sheet music and demo recordings which have been sent to him by hopeful songwriters, and the musical theme for the singer's summertime consideration is Christmas. Scores of Christmas songs lay before him, most all of which ranged from unacceptable to unsingable. There were, however, 3 songs which the singer found rather charming. There was one tune entitled He's a Chubby Little Fellow, referring, of course, to old St. Nick. There was a second Santa song, conspicuously called Santa, Santa, Santa. The third number, which the recording artist especially liked, was called If It Doesn't Snow on Christmas. So there was no question the singer wanted to record and release all 3 of these songs in time for the winter holidays, hoping to make a hit of at least one. But this is the rest of the story. There was a problem. The 4th side. 2 of the songs would fill out one record, sides A and B, but the 3rd song needed a flip side, and quite frankly, none of the other songs the singer had evaluated was appealing at all. Well, it happens that a young unknown New York songwriter had sent a demo recording to the singer's home, and the singer's wife heard that, and she adored it. In fact, over her husband's rather extreme objections, she convinced him to record that number, to use it as the 4th side, and he did. All 4 new Christmas songs were to be cut the same day. The recording studio set aside 3 hours for the task. The union was very strict about time limitations, but as the recording session commenced, so did the difficulties, technical problems, arguments with the producer. Before anybody realized what had happened, 2 hours and 50 minutes had passed. The fourth side had not yet been recorded. The arranger began to panic. Now there's less than 10 minutes left in this session, but it's only that one dumb fourth side song anyway, he said. Let's just throw it in and let it go. And that's what they did. I mean, literally, the singer ran to the microphone, music up, one take, no rehearsal, one take, and then the engineer's voice boomed over the studio speaker. That's it, wrap it up, and the recording session went dark. 40 Christmases ago. And since then, the fourth side that only a singer's wife could love has been loved by 4 decades of children large and small. It sold 2.5 million records the first year. It passed the 10 million mark more than 10 years ago. I mean that one record which was done in one take in 1948. The Johnny Marks classic has since been sung by more than 400 artists in virtually every language, including Chinese. It sold well over 100 million copies. That first recording alone is the second biggest seller of all time. It's second only to Bing Crosby's White Christmas. And now we learn that Bing Crosby and other major recording artists had been offered that song first, but the only one who did not turn it down was a lady named Ina Autry, the wife of Gene Autry. And she made her cowboy star husband record it because she was touched by the story of the ugly duckling in Santa's stable, a lonesome little red-nosed reindeer named Rudolph. And now you know the rest of the story.
Gene Autry's version is just the best.
Absolutely. My wife and daughters went, when we were in the Portland area, went to a Montgomery Wards, as we used to call it, Monkey Wards, and waited in line because so many people got an original reprinting of the person who used to work for Montgomery Wards, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer story.
Okay.
So we have that book somewhere, but they got up. And for all of my girls to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I did not go. Yeah. I got up before that time all the time, but I think I had to go to work. It was just before Christmas or something. So, they got up early and went and stood in line and got that book. So
it might be worth something today.
Special memory. You know, you talk about the songs that are doing well. Mariah Carey and All I Want for Christmas.
Yeah.
She makes $3 million a year off of that.
Right.
And people go, I got to listen. I still like it. I don't care. You can bash it if you like. I think it's kind of cute and it's a nice sentiment.
Right.
But anyhow, that's my story on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, was because the gentleman worked for Montgomery Wards, was a copywriter for advertisements and stuff, and he put it all together. And then it was a giveaway for Montgomery Wards to their customers. And so it helped promote Montgomery Wards.
Wow.
How'd that?
You know,
Did you know that?
And I'm with you on the Mariah Carey. I'm not a big fan of hers to begin with, but that song is not bad. I mean, you know, you're walking through the grocery store and it's like you find yourself. And I just did a radio show for Deep Grooves Radio on songs.
That was really good, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You did a great job on that.
It was it's songs that you just wouldn't think that these people would have sang or whatever. But, you know, as far as Rudolph goes, you know, I think that original is so much better than a lot of the ones that have been redone over the years. Now, the one that kind of stands out to me that is actually a lot of good remakes have been done is Run, Run, Rudolph, originally done by Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
But now it's been done by country singers. And I think it just ends up it's a fun song. So it's just, I can't find one that I don't like that have been remade by that, but that's a rare thing. I'm very much a traditionalist. I like the old stuff.
Yeah, that's what the wife puts on. We'll have traditional. It's on Sirius XM or something, and it's traditional 40s and some newer things. You know, when I hear the Carpenters on there, it's like that's not 40s, but it has that old traditional sound to it.
Absolutely. Oh, you know, she had such a great voice. Oh,
Merry Christmas, Darling. That's my favorite one. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
we were doing really good until we started talking.
Well, we're wrapping up 2024. Today is December 31st, like we said at the beginning of the show. We hope you had a great year, and we hope you were somewhat informed today. As always, and had fun like we did. Don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And you'll hear us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com. You can get the apps and listen to it that way. We'd like to thank all of you and wishing you a very safe, happy, and especially a prosperous New Year.
Absolutely. We will see you in 2025, folks.
Toodles, and thanks so much for listening to us. 100's coming up, people. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.